that it's very hard to get yourself out of it. So the best defense in this world is to recognize the manipulators before you get involved with them. First of all, you notice that they have a track record, that they've manipulated other people, that they have a lot of enemies in this world, right? If they have a lot of enemies in this world, that must mean something, okay? But you also are attuned to their body language, to the nonverbal communication cues that people give. When people look at you, their eyes reveal a lot. Their eyes reveal that they're actually interested, they're actually engaging. Manipulators have this kind of distance in their eyes, as if they're thinking, as you can hear them thinking. They're not like looking at you. They're kind of going, wow, what can I say to get this person interested in me? The eyes reveal a lot about whether people are outwardly focused or inwardly focused. And be very attuned to the body language, to what seems authentic and what is fake. I mean, these are some cues, but the most important thing is to be aware of your emotions and how you're being played and how they're constantly shifting because of all the drama that this person is stirring up.
Mm-hmm. That's very useful. And those are some really great signs to look out for. And I always think about it as a roller coaster. Sorry?
Have you ever dealt with someone who's a great manipulator?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great social manipulator. It was a woman. It was a girl, actually. She was quite young, but she had this, since she was a baby, she had this ability. I think it was just narcissism, to be honest. And I don't use that term lightly. I don't like throwing it around, but I think she was actually, if there's one person in the world, she was definitely diagnosed with narcissism. And, you know, she could just take you on this roller coaster of emotions, from like hate to love to excitement to fear, everything you mentioned. And she could really control the group dynamic. So if she wanted someone excluded, she would make everyone else turn against the other person. And no one in the group actually liked her, but they were all kind of scared of her. And it wasn't like this was the boss or someone who had real power over other people, but the way she could manipulate people, honestly, it was impressive. You know, I didn't like her at all, but it was impressive. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah, there's definitely people like that. And
it's amazing, as you say, what one person can do and how they can completely disrupt and dominate a group dynamic. You know, and you want to wonder, what is it about them and what is that skill or what are they doing that gives them that power? It's a fascinating subject. Why don't you like using the word narcissist?
I just think people nowadays throw it around. Overuse. Everyone's a narcissist. My mom's a narcissist. My dad's a narcissist. My boyfriend's a narcissist, you know, because they did one thing. And I think we're all narcissists to a degree or another. I think it's a spectrum. And then, you know, the people that are actually diagnosed with it, I think it was like 1 or 2% of the population, whereas everyone thinks everyone's a narcissist. So, you know, I think there's a difference. Like, sure, you can have narcissistic qualities or behaviors, or you can be more narcissistic and then you can be more selfless in different contexts. But yeah, I just don't like to throw that term around, you know, as easily as most people do.
Well, yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes, I do agree. In the Laws of Human Nature, I have a chapter on narcissism, and I say that we are all narcissists. We are all self-absorbed by our nature as human animals in the 21st century. It's unavoidable that we think first and foremost of ourselves, that we're more interested in our own ideas than other people's ideas. You know, it's natural and it's normal. But what happens is that you have people who are somewhat healthy with their narcissism, they're aware of it, and they have a degree of self-love and self-respect, so that when bad things happen to them and they start feeling depressed and low, they're able to raise themselves back up because they have a degree of self-love. So self-love is not a bad thing. It's actually a very good and powerful thing. And what happens with terrible narcissists, the 1%, I would say, to me, I think it's more like 5%, but who knows? It's just a number.
You're probably right.
when bad things happen and they start feeling upset and insecure, they don't have that self-love to raise them back up. The only way that they can feel okay about it is to start hurting other people, to start creating drama and getting attention. Instead of an internal voice that goes, "You're not so bad, let's just wait it out, things will get better," they go, "I'm so desperate, I'm so upset, I'm so angry, I have to get attention, I have to get other people, I have to manipulate other people." They cannot raise themselves back up. So to have some love for yourself, to have some self-esteem is actually a very good and positive and powerful thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's an amazing way to differentiate people who are actually narcissistic, diagnosed, and then people who are just, normal and are just on the spectrum, narcissistic spectrum. And
yeah, I think spectrum is a good word for it. Yeah.
And, you mentioned seduction, and you said also that manipulation is kind of part of it. I was wondering, what is seduction?
Well, seduction is a form of power. So, people have a weakness in life, okay? And the weakness that we all have, myself included, everybody on this planet, is that we don't have enough pleasure, okay? We don't have enough fun. We don't have enough excitement. We don't have enough theater and drama and things that raise us out of the banalities of everyday life. We're hungry for that, right? We have to work. We have to handle all the business things in our life. Life can be really drudgery and difficult and painful. And so that weakness is the fact that we want pleasure. We want to get out of our day-to-day world. We want to get out of the banalities that are weighing us down. So along comes a person, a man or a woman, or an animal, because animals seduce, and they say, all right, I'm going to give this person a taste of some pleasure, a taste of some thrill, a taste of some excitement. It could be sexual, but doesn't have to be sexual. It could be an adventure. Men are very much seduced by women who are offering an adventure because they like the thrill of the hunt. They like to chase. They like anything that has a little bit of danger involved, okay? So what you're offering is something that people don't normally get in their day-to-day life. If you're a man or a woman and you know how to give people a taste of that pleasure and get them eating out of your hand and running after you, you are a master seducer or seductress. That is the art. It is knowing people's weakness and need to be taken out of their boring day-to-day life and playing on that to seduce them, to make them fall in love, to make them vote for you in an election, to sell them a product in marketing, whatever it is. It's all the same psychology.
So seduction is not just in the romantic context. It could be in any kind of context.
Of course. I mean, to win an election these days as a politician, you have to be really good at media, right? It's a new phenomenon. It wasn't necessarily like that 200 years ago. It's not that you're not just a good speaker, but you're good on television, you're good on social media, you're good, in any kind of image orientation, right? So you have to be a seducer. You have to know that voters are missing something. Usually in an election, what that is people want change. They're bored and they're tired with the same Labor Party, Republicans, Democrats. I want change. I want things different. You know how to appeal to that. You're a seducer. You're giving them something that they don't have. In marketing, you're figuring out audiences are so inundated with this particular approach. Here's a new approach that's going to get their attention, right? And make them excited. That's seduction. Okay? You're working in an office, and you don't want to be sexually seducing people in your office, hopefully. Okay? But you know that people want to be liked. They want respect. They want validation. You want to feel that your ideas are great ideas. Well, that's what that person does in the work office. It's called a charmer. That's one of the types of seducers. They know how to make you feel great about yourself. That's a seduction. Social, political, sexual, marketing, it's all the same.
Very interesting. So besides the charmer, what are the other archetypes of seduction?
Well, starting at the beginning, there's the siren. So I maintain in the art of seduction that it is women that invented the art of seduction, and the most ancient archetypes of seduction are women. And the siren is the preeminent female seductress. And it has a very physical component to it. A siren has a very powerful sexual energy that isn't obvious. It's not like they go around naked or anything, but it's in their aura. I often, when I'm watching a movie and I'm looking at actresses, I can feel it in them. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know one of the archetypes that I talk about is Marilyn Monroe. And Marilyn Monroe would literally make love to the camera. She wanted you to love her, right? And so she was so vulnerable and so open. And that gave her that kind of siren presence. But it's a sort of physical quality that only really a man can appreciate, because the siren is a powerful seductress of men. A man feels that energy in the woman and is really drawn to it. Also, sirens are very theatrical. They create a lot of drama. They create fantasy. Like Cleopatra was creating incredible fantasies. So that's the siren. On the flip side is the male seducer, because all the other types can be male or female, but these two types are generally one or the other, is the rake. That's the most primal, powerful form of male seduction, is the rake. And the rake is a man who really understands and really likes women. He's very interested in women. He was probably had sisters, had a strong mother, and he was around women. He likes them, he appreciates them, he understands their psychology, their needs. The thing is, he's never satisfied by one woman. It's after a couple of months, he's on to somebody else, okay? But in those 2 months that a rake is interested in you, no woman can resist him, because he fills you with so much attention that's so focused on you. And it's not like creepy attention. It's not like a stalking attention. It's loving, romantic attention that you don't get from any other man, because men are so interested in their work and their business. They don't care about women's things. This man is all focused on you. He understands you. He's giving you what you want. No woman can resist it. And men who are rakes are also very good with words, because words are the woman's weakness. A man who can speak well, who can weave stories and poetic things with his tongue, is extremely seductive, right? For men, it's appearances, it's visuals, it's that sexual energy. For women, a lot of it revolves around words and ideas and thoughts and concepts and fantasies that a man can evoke. That is the rake, right? No man can resist a siren, and no woman can resist a true rake. The other types are like the dandy, which is a type of man or woman who has qualities of the opposite sex, the other gender. So it's a man with a touch of femininity. It's a woman with a touch of masculinity. And believe it or not, that has very, very powerful sexual and social appeal to people. I could go into why that is, but that's a very powerful type. There is the natural, which is somebody who has a very childlike ability. They're spontaneous. They may be in their 20s, but you have the feeling that they're 5 years old. They're so real and natural and spontaneous and kind of helpless and vulnerable. You go, wow, that's lovable. I want that person. There's the coquette, which traditionally is a woman but can be a man, is the one who plays hot and cold. They're suddenly so excited about you, their eyes will go, wow, there's something going on there. And then the next minute they're all cold and distant, and they've completely wrapped you around your finger by this pattern of coldness and hotness. There are a few others, but I don't want to exhaust the list. That gives you an idea.
Super interesting. Yeah, thank you so much for
the whole list.
No, that was good enough. And yeah, I think, but those are kind of most of them, right? So that was really.
There's like 5 or 6 of the 9, yeah.
Very interesting. And for someone who's listening right now and they're thinking, this sounds amazing, but they don't necessarily feel seductive, or they don't feel like they have any of those qualities, or they don't feel like they're attracting someone. Is there a way for someone to cultivate this magnetic, seductive aura?
Yeah.
How do they do it?
It's very simple. I mean, there are many different ways to get there, but there's one path that is the most powerful of all. And that is to be more interested in other people. So what makes you unseductive, what I call anti-seductive, is that you're so self-absorbed. You're only thinking about yourself. You're insecure. You're worried about what people think about you. You're constantly going, am I saying the right things to this woman in the bar? Is she bored? You're so wrapped up in your own thoughts that you're not paying attention. The ability to get outside of yourself, and you can practice this. The problem nowadays is everything is virtual. You're swiping to find somebody. You need to practice this on people in the world and not virtually, okay? And the practice is this: thinking about them. So if I were interested in you, Francesca, right now, just as a scenario, right? And I was trying to seduce you, okay? And we were in a restaurant or a bar, I'd be focusing on who you are, what your world is like. I would be asking questions that aren't obvious, but that show that I'm interested in your world, how you think, what's going on with you, what was your childhood like? I get you to talk about yourself. People never feel like they're the star of the show. They never feel like they get to talk about themselves. You get the other person to talk because you're focused on them. You're not focused on yourself, right? I'm interested in you. I'm interested in what makes Francesca tick. What were her horrible experiences with boyfriends in the past, and why? I'm trying to get inside of your world and think like you think, so I can understand what it is that you're missing in life, okay? What makes people bad at the game is they can't get inside of other people. They're so locked in their heads. They're can only think about what they need, what they want, what they think is funny, or what they think is interesting. But you have to think of what the other person finds interesting. I have this famous quote that I'm going to mangle terribly in The Art of Seduction, where in England in the 19th century, there were these two political rivals, Benjamin Disraeli, who was a great prime minister, and this other man, I can't remember what his name was, Goldsmith, maybe, Gold something or other, sorry. And Disraeli was the master seducer, and this woman, this princess or whatever, was at a party, an evening with them, and she said, sitting next to Mr. Goldsmith, whatever his name was, I thought he was the most interesting man in the world. Sitting next to Mr. Disraeli, I thought I was the most interesting person in the world. That is what charm, that is what seduction is. So you're not trying to impress people with how brilliant you are. You're trying to make them feel brilliant. You're trying to make them feel wonderful and great, not you. Get out of yourself, get out of your world, get out of your own problems, and get inside other people, inside their minds. Ask questions. And then, this is a very brilliant seduction technique. When somebody says something that seems kind of interesting or telling, the next day or later that evening, you come back to them and you quote what they were saying in some context, What this reveals is that you were listening to them, that you've retained something they said that was very personal, and you've quoted it back to them, not in an obvious way, but it reveals indirectly that you were truly listening to them. Man, that is powerful, because people don't listen to each other anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. And I think a lot of women are complaining about that. They're going on dates and they feel like the guy hasn't asked them any questions, or they only talked about themselves. And, it seems like a simple ask, like, please just ask me some questions, but you'd be surprised how little it actually happens.
Well, that's men's weakness when it comes to seduction. They talk too much about themselves. It's a terrible quality.
Are there any, you mentioned some anti-seductive qualities. Are there other habits that maybe people are doing unconsciously that are anti-seductive?
Well, one quality is moralizing and judging, and always judging other people and judging them for what they said and judging them for what they look and judging from the clothes that they wear and judging them for their friends and their political opinions. That is completely unseductive. Being moralizing and superior, that will put anybody off, okay? Being so insecure that you're always worried about what you're going to say and whether you're pleasing people, we can read that kind of insecurity on people. It's very anti-seductive, insecurity. The lack of generosity. So, if you're a man, I'm being very traditional here, so I don't know, it's probably not very good for the 21st century. But pay the money, pick up the bill. Don't be tight, don't be such a tightwad. Don't be having always to split the bill. Pay for things, give generous gifts, but not just material things. Be generous with your attention, right? So you're somebody that's always involved in your business and your work, and you have no time for your partner or the person you're trying to seduce. Do the opposite and be generous with the time that you give them. If the woman, for instance, if it's a man or woman, the woman knows that you're very busy, okay? But if suddenly you take off a complete day and you say, let's just go off and do our things and let's just be together for that whole day, that's powerful. You're being generous with your spirit. You're being generous with your time. That is, lack of that is a very anti-seductive quality. Those are some of them. Once again, I could go through all 10, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now.
Yeah, I think those are so spot on. Yeah, absolutely. And I can so much resonate with that. And
the one I left out, what I kind of mentioned, is the talker, the big talker, the person that's always bragging and saying, God, I was so great, and look at all the wonderful things I've done, and all the people that have been interested in me, and all the things I've accomplished, and how many books I've written, and how fantastic, and how many followers I have on Instagram. Man, that is really anti-seductive.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you mentioning generosity, I think it applies to both men and women. Sure. Even if you, for instance, I remember going out with this girl, just as friends. And I think it was we met at the book club and then we went for a coffee. And at the end, she picked up the bill and she paid for it. And I was like, wow, that had never happened to me before with a woman, like a friend has never really paid for my coffee before. And I really appreciated that. It really made me like her more. And then the other example is, I don't know what it is about the UK, but on birthdays, people don't bring you gifts. Whereas where I'm from, which is Romania, people always bring you thoughtful, really nice gifts, and they pay for things and they invest money and time. And then it was such a shock to see, I made some British friends and they came to my birthday and they came empty-handed. And I had to adjust to this culture.
When is your birthday, Francesca?
It's on the 28th of March.
20th of March?
28th.
28th of March.
Yeah.
Okay. I have friends who are that. So you're an Aries.
Yes, I'm an Aries. Yeah. How about you? When's your birthday?
May 14.
So are you a Taurus? Yeah. Oh, very cool. So yeah, I think,
yes.
it really puts you off when people aren't being generous.
On the subject of gifts are a very important topic in the art of seduction. And what you must understand is the power of a gift isn't necessarily in the money that you've spent on it. It's in the thoughtfulness of it. And the thoughtfulness is you're giving them something that appeals to them as an individual. This is the other thing about seduction that you need to understand. Back in the early 2000s, we had this big thing about the pickup artist, right? Particularly in Los Angeles, the game, playing the game. Men knew all these techniques for how to seduce women. The problem was that it wasn't geared towards a woman who, as an individual, her specific needs. It was just this kind of general strategies that you applied. And women could see through it. It was very off-putting. So you're dealing with people as an individual. You, Francesca, have your own needs, your own interests, your own peculiar tastes. If I give you a gift that shows I understand who you are as an individual, I give you some music that I know is your taste, or I give you not just flowers, not just the general cliched stuff, but something that shows that I was listening to you, that I understand you, that the gift is personal. It's not just that it was expensive, but that there was some thinking going on in it. That is the more seductive, powerful way to give a gift.
Absolutely. And women really appreciate that. Probably men as well, but I'd say particularly women.
Men do too.
Very interesting. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, you mentioned charm and charisma. Are charisma and seduction the same thing, or are they different?
Well, one of the types of seducers that I did not mention was the charismatic. So it's definitely a form of seduction. And the idea is, backing up a little bit here, seduction and the art of seduction is a language. It's a language that you are learning. It's not a language of words. It's a language of actions. It's a language of your body, of how you present yourself. It's how you dress, how you look, how you smell. It's a pre-verbal language that you have to learn. It's about giving gifts. It's about where you take people, okay? So we humans are very attuned to people's nonverbal communication, to their body language. We pick it up. It's the animal part of ourselves, right? And it's very powerful and it's very seductive, okay? So a charismatic has very, very, very powerful body language. And what is that? They believe something so strongly, they're so certain about something powerful about their world or what they want, that it radiates to them. It's like there's a light bulb inside of them that you can't see, but that animates all their gestures, their eyes, their mouth, their expression. They seem alive. It's almost a slight sexual energy, but it's this energy of self-belief, of confidence, of wanting people to like them, right? This is the kind of power that Marilyn Monroe had before the camera. And it's extremely powerful. You can read it in people, right? So it's very important for a political figure or an actor or somebody in the public eye to have that quality, right? And it can't be faked. That's the thing about it. The thing that's interesting about people with charisma that I discovered in my research is that they generally come from troubled, bad backgrounds. They had bad childhoods. They were abused. They were neglected. They were abandoned, right? And what happens in that scenario is they didn't get the love and attention that they needed from their parents.